Hi, and welcome to this, a lecture in the series of lectures on C Sharp programming. And this particular lecture will concentrate on built-in functions and methods. And of course, I'm your lecturer, Dr. Peter O'Neill of Sheffield Hallam University. Built-in methods. C Sharp has a wide range of methods, functions already for use. The C Sharp help lists them by placing your mouse cursor over a method and then calling the method by pressing F1 on your keyboard. It will then access the internet and go and look up that method and actually give you a description of it. Here are some of them you've already used, listed below. So convert dot to int32 variable, semicolon. Convert dot to double variable, semicolon. Dot to string. My underscore dialogues dot input box variable. Of course, that one won't appear in the help menu because, of course, I've generated it. But these can all be consisted of built-in methods. You have used many of these built-in methods within the tutorial sessions. Also, you will, in the future, write your own methods, such as my dialogues. These are similar functions and procedures. The general form of a method called is some variable it returns becomes method name followed by the number of parameters the method takes. Or the second one there emulates my dialogues class and the input box, of course. Let's just show you what I mean. So the parameters can be one or many to the method, because you don't know how many. Becomes, and it is the method name itself. So it's the name. And then it becomes some variable. Now, in the input box, that probably demonstrates it better, because you've got one parameter, two parameters, or three parameters. Remember, you can call the input box using up to three parameters. One parameter where you call the prompt text, one parameter, or two parameters should I say, where we have the prompt text and the title, and the third, of course, where we have the title, the prompt text, and a returning variable that we can also send to it as well. Now note that we have the class name of the input box, yes, and we also have the class name as well, which of course in my case is my underscore dialogues, and that can also return back to some other variable here on the left hand side. Okay. Throughout, as you will see, we sometimes use the result directly without storing it anywhere. If the method needs no parameters, also known as arguments, remember, then you just need to use the method name followed by open brackets, close brackets, like this one. So it's my method name, open brackets, close brackets. Don't forget, if this were real code, you'd have semicolon on the end of it. Or if it was in a class, then you put the class name followed by the dot method. So dot method name. However, C# is not very uniform. There are differences in how we call functions. For example, mathematical methods: squared, sin, cos, etc. We precede the name by math. Math and dialogues are the same. They are a collection of relative methods. We call this collection, as you already know, a class. I also like to think of it as a blueprint to an object that we can instantiate. Sometimes we don't bother, we just keep it as a collection. For example, here we have x becomes math.sin, open brackets, y, close brackets, and it should have a semicolon on the end. Math is the class, sin is the method, y is the parameter we're sending, and x is the value we will get back. For methods which manipulate strings, the string comes before the method name. For example, string my name. S becomes my name substring 2, 3, close brackets, semicolon, or at least it should be. Thus, the properties are like a method. N becomes my name dot length. You've seen the dot notation, and length, of course, tells us how long it is. So my name is the variable, and the method is length, and it returns the number of items in the actual variable. Built-in methods again. Here are some examples using square root. So we've got double x, double I. These are bad variable names, by the way, people. Don't emulate these. I've just done them for speed. So I've got a comment. Square root, one parameter, numerical result. Okay? So I becomes math dot squared, open brackets 9, close square brackets, semicolon. I, of course, is 3. Now here's an interesting one. I becomes math squared 4 plus math squared 9. So 3 plus 2 equals 5. This is something we call nested. So, what do we mean by nested? Well, if you look, we've got brackets for the outer squared, and then we've got another math squared inside that. So actually we're saying that math squared 4, which is of course 2, then squared from the result of 2 becomes x, which in this instance will be 1. And you can see that example in built-in functions number 1. Here are some examples of substring and length. The first character in the string is numbered 0. For example, string S equals position. Please note that the P is of index value 0. So if you asked it for the length, it would return, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But 1 is not P. If you ask it for the index, right, it will be 1 less. It will be 7. Because N is at location 7. Because P starts at 0. All computers start at 0 when it comes to indexing. So, string answer. Answer becomes S dot substring 2, 3. The answer is the word sit. So here we are, look. So we'll take it from there. And of course, number 2 in, if P is 0, then 1 is O, and 2 is S. And we're saying it's 3 characters in length. So that's S-I-T, sit. The length of the string is how many characters it contains, not the index. So, for example, string S1 becomes Sheffield. Yes, S1 therefore becomes 9, or N becomes 9, because we've asked it the length of S1. However, the index for D is 8. And you can see that in built-in functions number 2, which is available via the Blackboard. Okay, random numbers. To have the ability throughout the main window to do this once, just under the form class form 1 line, add the following code. Int I. Random, my random, becomes new random. Now this is quite interesting, this, because what we're doing here, by placing it A underneath class form 1, right, and after the open squiggly brackets, we're making I an int, but we're making it global. That means that all the methods within that class can access that variable. Okay? Variables declared within a method are only alive within that method. So once you leave the method, that variable dies. However, variables that are declared globally will be alive for the complete duration of the application's execution. Okay? And this is called scope. And we'll have a little look at this later on. Now, here we're saying that class random, remember random is a blueprint, right, of a random selector. And I've said that its type random is my random. So, like I is an int, my random is a copy of random. But it will become a new copy of random. In other words, I'm instantiating that random, my random, as a new object. So now I can treat it as an object, and I can get what I want and access its methods. Which means I can also send it from one method to another method if I wish. However, in this instance, I'm declaring it global to save me doing that. So then I've got this. I becomes my random dot next 0, 101 close brackets semicolon. What this does is it picks me a number out at random between 0 and 100. Okay? Sorry, between 1 and 100. That's my mistake. So therefore, notice it's exclusive or inclusive to the numbers. Right? So it excludes the actual numbers you've got and it increments the first one by 1 and the second one it reduces it by 1. So hence we get 1 to 100. And then we can say it again. So we can get another one. So every time we type in I becomes random dot next 1 to 100. Yeah. We actually now we've only got between 2 and 100 that we could randomly get. But it will randomly generate as a number. And you can see that in built-in functions number 3. So let's go through that quickly again because it's quite a lot to take in because of it being an object. So we've got I, we're declaring it just because that's what as a result will be a whole number. We're saying take the class of random and make my random become the type of random, right? And make a new copy of random. Okay? So it instantiates at this point my random, which becomes an object in its own right. And because it becomes an object in its own right, we can now either pass it or we can actually manipulate it using its own functions. So we can say that I next between 0 and 101 will give us a number between 1 and 100. Okay. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of built-in methods, and more being added to each version of Visual Studio. Clearly, we cannot cover all of these, and some you will never ever need. However, in general, you will find the method encapsulated within its relevant class, object or component. For example, going back to the maths class, it has sin, cos, square, etc. It even has pi as a number. If you have any questions with regards to this lecture, please feel free to email me or speak to me during one of your tutorials.
THANKYOU, thank you, thank you. THANKYOU, thank you, thank you. THANKYOU, thank you, thank you.